Welcome to episode 10, and in this video I'm going to break down my favorite scene from this episode. And when I say favorite, in this case it's probably the most hard to understand straight away scene. Probably one of the most, I guess, multi-interpreted scenes of this drama. Now, most of the things in this drama are actually really clear. However, this scene at first confused me a few times, and it took me a few viewings to really understand it because the context is so majorly important. And I'm talking, of course, about the last scene in this episode when Lee Ji-an basically says to Dong Hoon,
그러니까 한 대만 갈가달라고 내 뒤통수. 정신 번쩍 나게. 어떻게 이딴 인간을 좋아했나 머리 박고 죽고 싶게.
It's a really important scene in the drama, and I think I'm not the only one that was confused by this in the beginning of watching this maybe once or twice. Am I right? I believe there are lots of people having very different interpretations of this scene. Now, I don't think that mine is particularly the 100% only one. However, I've really gone through this in lots of detail and tried to figure out. I made a whole whiteboard full of notes to just put all the facts together of what's happened, which lead up to this moment. Now, let's look at the context before we look at the scene. The context is this. Dong Hoon has just put himself into personal danger for Lee Ji-an. So he fights with Kwang Yi and he wants to pay off her debt. She's super moved by it all. She gives him a present, the slippers, and for helping to find a place for her grandmother. Dong Hoon then takes her grandmother and her to this home. They have this incredibly moving moment with the grandmother and Dong Hoon, and she overhears that as well. There is nothing here that would not tell you that basically this is the warmest and most caring that Lee Ji-an has ever been with Dong Hoon. And this whole episode, I believe, is about her trying to find a way and scheming and strategizing to extract herself from the situation so that she can't be used against Dong Hoon by the CEO. Keep the fact that she was spying on him in the beginning hidden from him. We understand later how devastating it is for her that he finds out. And so that is a crucial factor in how we get to this last scene, I believe. So in the meantime, what she's been doing is the CEO has been trying to put pressure on her and is getting increasingly impatient with her. So he says he wants to see some results in the next 2 days, I believe. And Dong Hoon's promotion hearing is in, I believe, 5 days at some point here in this episode. So the pressure is on. The CEO is having 2 meetings with her. And the second meeting, Lee Ji-an actually has conceived a way to try to frighten the CEO into backing off her and backing off Dong Hoon especially. How? Well, she got her friend to act like a photographer taking pictures of the CEO secretly, and the idea is that she tells the CEO, look, they're shadowing you, you better be careful. And the genius part of that is, on the camera, there are also some pictures of him with Dong Hoon's wife, which suggests, of course, to the CEO, that's why he gets so scared, that he's been shadowed for a while. So she's done a lot strategically to try to get the CEO to back off. At the same time, she realizes that the CEO is getting impatient. So she has to string him along because she needs to get Dong Hoon to safely go into this promotion hearing. So what she's now realized at this point, when she sees him in the cafe, sitting by himself, looking at the door, waiting for her, she first wants to go to him, but then she realizes that he's being looked at or, surveyed by this guy. But essentially, what I think the clear explanation is, with all of that background information I just went through, is that Lee Ji-an is not having a fit here where she just wants to express her feelings and shows her frustration or whatever. I believe she's very calculated in this approach because she has realized that she has become too much of a risk for Dong Hoon to even be hanging out with him. She needs to enable him to basically push her away and stop talking to her and want to stop talking to her and ideally fire her, because that's what he said last time when she tried to kiss him before. Obviously, there's a lot has happened in the meantime, but at least he may not want to talk to her anymore. That's what she's hoping for to achieve here. Ideally for him to fire her. And she suggests that in the next episode. She says to him, fire me tomorrow in front of everyone. Say I've been doing this and that. Make it look like that because, you know, it's basically true anyway. So do that. And that way you can protect yourself from me being used against you. So, having said all that, let's have a look at the scene. There is him looking at the door, hoping that Li Jian will turn up. Because he just went out again, because he just didn't want to be home and thought maybe she will come. And there she is looking in, and she just arrived, and she sees him there all by herself. And beautifully done here. The impulse is to go across, and then she sees the guy in the car, obviously, which means things have accelerated. And this is what stops her from doing anything right now. She's clearly thinking about what to do now. And I believe she has realized that two things: if she can give the CEO the idea that she's still working on his behalf at this point, then the CEO will somehow conclude that he can still put her to work going forward. At the same time, she wants to give Dong Hoon now the opportunity, without him actually knowing that that's what she's doing, to get rid of her, which is heartbreaking because obviously she really likes him as well. But that's why I believe she does what she does. So, I mean, the really, really super sad thing in this is that she's doing everything she can right now against her own happiness, you know, to protect him and make sure he gets promoted. Even though at the same time, of course, she has been getting enormous, you know, good vibes from him, and she's loved being with him, spending time with him. But there's no way that ever with him and her anything will happen. Even friendship won't be possible in her mind at this stage, because his wife knows her, since they are getting together again, seemingly. This is like really her saying goodbye to Dong Hoon in a way. And it's very sad because you obviously know that she really doesn't want to run away, but she does because she wants to keep his secret. But also she's terrified of him finding out that she's been spying on him before, just because she doesn't want to make him disappointed in her. So in a way, this is half improvised, but also it has a definite goal, purpose, objective to achieve, which is super important to her. And that's the only thing she's thinking about, I believe, in this episode. So she knows the photographer is following him, and she now has a decision to make. And I believe she makes a smart decision, really, because she is now going to put a hood over and walk past Dong Hoon, expecting that he will recognize her and stop her and get annoyed already that she's sulking. But in order to make it believable, she needs to do that so that he believes that she is really sulking. After all that lovely stuff that's been happening, she has to now come up with this crazy girl in love, frustrated routine that will put everything at risk and puts him into a really difficult situation. Let's have a look. It's also interesting how it gets very quiet at this point. It becomes deadly silent. All you can hear is his thinking, his breathing at this point. It's really interestingly shot. It just shows how serious this moment is. It becomes a sort of dream sequence almost like, and it feels like we are now in Lee Ji-yeon's shoes, listening to him, even though she hasn't got the headphones in, which is interesting actually, yeah. But we hear his breathing. And as she expected, he stops her and he's frustrated and asks her why she's sulking and why she's ignoring him again. And it fits perfectly into the narrative that she wants him to believe, is that she's having a fit. But look at her face. That moment when you just saw her breathing in and breathing out, it's like, I'm going to do this now, and then he will fire me and I will disappear forever and back to my life. It's super sad, but it is the thing that she feels she needs to do. That's how I'm interpreting it. Like, you feel free to disagree or let me know, but she's now giving a show, both to him, that the CEO believes she's still doing something on his behalf so that he doesn't find another way of like hiring somebody else in the short time. And at the same time, for Dong Hoon, he needs to believe that she is really a complete loose cannon now for some reason. And it's not easy to pull off because they've obviously been so close and all that, especially after they went to her grandmother's home together. And there the music starts and you can see her mentally getting ready. It's so sad, that moment. But you can see how she consciously decides here what she's going to do next. Right? Am I the only one? Hood off so that the photographer can get some pictures so he can prove, say to the CEO, yeah, she's trying. Actually, it's crucial that the CEO sees that she's trying, because the CEO might otherwise also suspect that she had something to do with the photographer scary thing beforehand, right? Makes sense, actually. It makes it very compelling. And he's already sounding frustrated. What is it this time? It's perfect, actually. And now she does the thing that she does so well, is when she's basically acting, putting on a show, but using real feelings in many ways. Actually, she's using the words that he said earlier in the office in this case as well to make it extra compelling. She's very good at that, and she knows that this is going to just make it impossible for him to react.
보고 싶고 애타고 그런 거 뒤통수 한 대 맞으면 끝날 감정이라면서요. 끝내고 싶은데 한 대만 때려주죠.
And it's like, oh, I'm just gonna act like I'm crazy, young, loved up, frustrated. So she's creating this perfect illusion of acting like this crazy bitch. And basically what he calls her in a second.
그지 같아. 왜 내가 선물한 슬리퍼 안 신나 신경 쓰는 것도 그지 같고.
So this is actually real. I mean, it's like, she actually uses that, but it's not just about her like expressing her feelings. The intention of it. Slipper flashback. Okay, so why is he not wearing them? That's a good question. Maybe for somebody to answer in the comments.
이렇게 밤늦게 배회하고 돌아다니는 것도 그지 같아.
집에 가. 왜 돌아다녔어?
She knows him so well that she knows exactly how to trigger him. It's like, this is like, because he's obviously in denial that he likes her too. In many ways, and he's obviously, it's not part of his character to like somehow end up like having an affair while he's just been shocked that his wife was having it. It's not his thing, right? At the same time, though, I do believe he's reacting to this and slightly overreacting to this because she's actually exactly hitting on a true point, that is that he does like her in that way. And to me, it's clear that what she's trying to do here is to escalate it so much in this over-the-top way. He needs to believe it, but at the same time, she needs to escalate it so much that he will get angry with her and want nothing to do with her anymore. And also, especially, she needs to get him to believe that she will just run around and say, oh, Dong Hoon, he likes me or whatever. That doesn't make any sense. But at this point, he does believe it. Perfect. So she's got him to already to get quite angry and say, but look at her face. It's like he's still not going there really. So you have to try again. And now she's like, oh, okay, I can use that. I'm crazy. Okay, so I'm just gonna shout it from the rooftops. So now she's grabbing him and all that, gets physical. She just has to get this done. Just has to get him to somehow react in a way that is not retrievable. Shockingly, though, actually, he does actually hit her in the head.
안 때리면 나 좋아하는 걸로 알 거야. 동네방네 소문 낼 거야. 박동훈이 이지은 좋아한다고!
There we go. I don't know if she was surprised by this, but on some level, when you see it in her face in a minute, it's like she managed to get him to the point when he really thinks she's crazy. And so that's success, really, because now he's unlikely to want to hang out with her and protect her and make things good for her and all of that stuff, because he's put himself into a lot of danger to help her in the past, and she is now ready to totally give back by basically sacrificing her own happiness to keep him safe by extracting herself from this. And he doesn't even know that she's doing it, basically. That was the brief, and that's what she's achieving here. You can see there, her eyes, she's just been thinking whether that's enough in a way, and now she's off. You know, she was calculating. So all these little details are really fascinating to me. And when you watch it the first time or second time, you just think, oh, all of a sudden there's like a big emotional scene, and you're like, where does it come from? But when you look at the context, I think it makes perfect sense. Off she goes. You can see in her face, you know, it's like, yeah, I've had to do it. And it's obvious from the way that she walks off. I mean, you can see that, yes, that's it. I've achieved my goal. And now I'm gonna go cry at home by myself for my own loss. But I've had to go and find a way of putting distance between him and me. And then, in the next episode, she says to him, fire me tomorrow. She is basically creating this whole story for him, even though that's really not what she would have acted like in any other situation, unless it was to protect him and get herself out of the situation so she can't be used against him. Especially if he fires her publicly, then the narrative is all in his favor. So, that's my take on this scene. Obviously now, it's the end of the episode, and it goes on. Of course, he has an amazing scene with her when he defies all her expectations and tells her, no, you're not going to be fired, and I refuse to get uncomfortable around you, which of course changes things again, and then, changes the dynamics. Now, let me know what you think. Does that all make sense? I know I'm like, oh, it's like this and but you know, you may still have different viewpoints and different ideas about this. I just wanted to really try to break it down very clearly because this scene confused the hell out of me quite a few times. Let me know what you think. Let me also know what your favorite scene is in episode 11. Also, if you have another favorite scene, there's so many scenes in episode 10 that I didn't talk about now because I wanted to try to clarify this scene in my head. Let me know as well. And of course, I'm going to be looking forward to chatting with you in the comments. I'll speak to you in the next one.